What's up guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to episode 21 of Let's Talk Wrestling, the series where I talk about the biggest stories, the hottest topics in wrestling at the minute. And right now, over the past few months, one of the most talked about names in wrestling and in WWE is none other than Karrion Kross, which is unexpected. I think before WrestleMania, no one would have thought one of the biggest stories coming out of SummerSlam and, you know, just general TV and storylines would be about Karrion Kross. It might be a bit more expected if you were to say it's because Karrion Kross has been released / reached the end of his contract with no extension and agreement being found. That might make people think, okay, that makes a bit more sense, but it's more than that. It's a very interesting situation. I would say Karrion Kross is a very, very polarizing figure in wrestling at the minute. There's one side of fans who love Karrion Kross. They love the storytelling and the promo work that he does and find him very compelling and think he should be pushed. The whole "We Want Kross" movement, people chanting that at Triple H and on social media and such. And then you have the other half of people saying he's shit, he can't wrestle, which might sort of be true, but on the other hand, you know, you had Jey Uso as a Royal Rumble winner, Mania opener. I was about to say main eventer, but he did not main event Mania, albeit he did at WrestleMania 39, and World Heavyweight Champion. So it's more getting over with the crowd and, you know, other parts of it that play a bigger role. He has a great presentation in his entrance and everything like that, but he's just one of those wrestlers where, you know, when the bell rings, he isn't quite all that. And, you know, that's okay. A lot of people have been like that. You know, a guy that is called the greatest of all time, John Cena, he's not the best in the ring. He isn't. He's not one-dimensional, but he isn't multi-dimensional, really. You know, he wrestled the same match for near on 20 years, apart from obviously the longer one here and there, you know, your big pay-per-view matches, but generally he worked the same match for 20 years. Hulk Hogan basically worked the same match his entire career, and he was not a good wrestler. Maybe some of his stuff in Japan was pretty good, but, you know, not great. He's one of those guys where you would expect, if he was ever, I'm talking about Karrion Kross here, obviously, if he was ever going to be the star of a company, it would be at WWE, where it's more about sort of entertainment value. It's not all about the level of wrestling. You know, your AEWs, your New Japans are generally more about quality of wrestling. Your Ring of Honors and the likes is more about that and less about the entertainment value and the promo cutting. Obviously, that's a huge part of wrestling. Presentation and mic work and gimmick work is a huge part, and for that part, Karrion Kross is very good. But in the ring, he just is not very exciting or interesting. It's hard to stay engaged during a Karrion Kross match. And it is weird because this was a man who was a monster in NXT under Triple H. But now, and we have seen that, you know, the guys that Triple H had in NXT, he hasn't pushed as much on the main roster, or people that Vince released, Triple H brought back, and they've all gone again. You know, your Karrion Kross is here. You've got Carlito. Technically, was that a Triple H signing? Yeah. You've got a Carlito. You have Braun Strowman's gone. Dakota Kai's gone. You know, your only real big success, Io Sky, definitely a success. I'm sure there are others, but I can't think of them off the top of my head. I mean, DIY brought back. There's some good ones, but yeah, Braun Strowman's gone, and loads of people from Triple H's run, you know, from his early run when he brought loads of guys back, are gone. And Karrion Kross is the latest in quite a long line of them, and it is unexpected, but it seems like Triple H has more pressures and more like things that he has to adhere to. This isn't like a sort of indie promotion like NXT is. You know, it's WWE's closest thing they have to an indie promotion. not everything is seen worldwide like it might be on the main roster. Not everything directly leads to ticket sales and merch sales and pay-per-view buys, which is now going to be a thing again with the whole ESPN debacle. But yeah, I feel like he's more restricted in that way, and he isn't booking shows how he did in NXT. He's not having barn burners like he did in NXT so much, and he's, you know, just going for what's popular and listening to, or not listening to the crowd, or not listening to probably what he himself thinks, and going in other directions with it. As for Karrion Kross, at the minute, he's gone. They haven't reached the contract negotiation. The contract negotiations have not reached an agreement. Him and Scarlett Bordeaux are officially leaving WWE as of right now. Is that 100% true? Who knows? We've seen this over the last few months. You know, your Carlitos, your R-Truth, they both came out very, very close to each other and said they had been released or not extended their contract. Carlito, yeah, not so much about Carlito. He's gone. R-Truth, whole We Want Truth movement came about with him, and he got his job back because they listened to the fans, which, you know, he came back really serious, cut his hair off, attacked John Cena, and then Cena turned face again in a really weird way. Truth was doing nothing. Cena comes back, and R-Truth says, if you're back, I'm back. And that's the end of his face turn. His heel turn, sorry. That's the end of the serious gimmick, as it looks. You know, he cut his hair off for nothing. He called himself Ron the Truth Killings for a few weeks, which was cool. And then he went back to being R-Truth, which, you know, it was just shit. Now, does it feel like they're trying to manufacture and reproduce an R-Truth situation with Karrion Kross to try and get him more over with the fans? Potentially, it could be a work. I mean, one of the biggest storylines from SummerSlam was one that people expected, being Seth Rollins' injury was all a work, and he came back. And now kayfabe, we're in a weird era of kayfabe in 2025. In kayfabe, Seth Rollins threw a match against LA Knight, one of the biggest matches of LA Knight's career. He threw the match, gave LA Knight the win, just so he could cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase unexpectedly, even though he had to run down a really long ramp, and CM Punk could have literally went anywhere instead of staying there. Wrestling logic's really weird. And after that huge win for LA Knight, he does fuck all, isn't on SummerSlam, so now it's like he's just been fucked over, and everyone can see that. It's a weird one. And like, we know about all the behind the scenes stuff because of the Unreal stuff that's going on, and Unreal will be coming out with a season 2 next year, and they're going to be filming that right now, probably right now. So we're probably in like episode 1 or 2, or maybe episode 2. SummerSlam's just been, so maybe they're built up to that. Maybe episode 3, Karrion Kross, we brought him back. We brought him back for the fans. They were chanting for him. Yeah. I don't know if my Triple H voice is any good, but that sort of seems what they're trying to do. They're trying to manufacture another sort of big return, Karrion Kross. If I was WWE, if I was gonna do that, I would have him sort of come in, not like he's back. I would just have him sort of take over if he could, you know, sabotage shit. And apparently he wanted to have a faction where people attacked bad people, which is basically just what the White Six was doing. The Final Testament as a faction failed, and even against Lashley and the Street Profits at Mania. That was a whole weird thing. Now they're in AEW. I doubt Kross goes to AEW because of the whole Don Callis thing with sexually assaulting his wife in TNA, which is why they had to leave there. I really think this is a work, to be honest. I feel like the Sami Zayn storyline ended on a weird way. Obviously, Sami beat him again, and Kross would have to admit he was wrong, but correct me if I'm wrong, that I didn't see that happen. I didn't watch all of Raw, but I don't remember that happening. You had him involved with AJ, which feels like it didn't really resolve properly, and he was involved with Logan Paul and all that shit. Apparently Logan Paul was campaigning for him to be involved in the match, which I don't know. I don't know if Karrion Kross is going to be back. I'm not his biggest fan, to be honest. I think some of his promo work is really compelling, and his promo after WrestleMania was really good. He pretty much told Triple H to fuck off in it, though, so could this be a work, or could Triple H literally be telling him to fuck off? There's a good chance of it going either way, but the stuff at the post-show when the fans were chanting, "We want Kross," and he said, yeah, I know, Brock, we just brought him back for you. Yeah, thank you to the Jets for putting us up here, record gate receipt. That's all that fucking guy says. And he dodged a press conference, obviously knowing they were bringing back Brock Lesnar, and there were going to be questions about the whole Janelle Grant lawsuit. And, you know, they have budget cuts, R-Truth and Carlito and all the other numerous releases, and now potentially Karrion Kross is a budget cut. But this fucking sex pest who likes pissing on people or something, whatever the lawsuit says, over his 2 years of doing jack shit farming in Canada, he was paid in full his entire contract, despite doing no work because of his involvement in a federal lawsuit. So that tells you everything you need to know about TKO and WWE. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. If you have, please let me know. Please leave a like and let me know what you think in the comments. Is this a work? Is it real? I don't know. I think it's a work, but that's just my opinion. So let me know yours in the comment section down below, as well as any other video suggestions you might have. And that's all from me for today. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.